Hello, everybody. Um, so I don't know. The song answered that, I guess. I don't know if I need to keep going or not. But no, seriously, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. I just wanted to express gratitude and I'm grateful that we can come together like this. And my intent today is not to teach, not only to teach, but to learn. For when we join together, such as this, to celebrate a world awakened to love, as in our vision statement, we may start to see that the lines between teacher and student become blurred. As we co-inhabit this space, this time, the best experiences are when we come together. Evidence for this is found in our community regularly, and we are truly blessed to have lay people such as myself, Lori Knurr last week, Marilyn Elfs coming up on the 21st, and many others from our community who have been presented this opportunity to serve in this way, and I'm thankful. So I actually have to apologize because there's a little bit of a punctuation mistake in my talk, God is the coin. It was supposed to be a space between the co and the in, but for some reason it didn't get in there. And we're gonna, I've adjusted my message, and now we're just gonna talk for 20 minutes about money. So I hope that's okay with everybody. So I'm joking. I'm actually, we're gonna explore the symbology of a coin in this talk, and this will coincide with diving into the symbols within the word itself and other words that co-inhere with this. So if we do break the word apart, we have co and we have in. And co, the definition's joint or mutual or common. And within, it's expressing the situation of something that is or appears to be enclosed, surrounded by something else. Along with the words, we have these found in other words as well, which some of them I've already used. So coincide, to occur at or during the same time. Co-inhere, to inhere or exist together as in one substance, or co-inhabit, to dwell together. So we see these words as symbols. A coin itself is a symbol as well. And while we're here, in this time and space, and we use symbols all the time. So we can look at a coin as a symbol of money, but we could also just look at it back to that phrase, are there two sides to every coin? I mean, I got a coin right here. There's one side, heads, tail, but if I hold it just right, those sides disappear. So with that, I think we're gonna explore some of the divisions, or some of the perceived divisions that we have, and encourage you to try to, as we consider these, use that symbol as a metaphor to where if you're so stuck in one position on one side, it's awfully hard to see the other side. And I think a big part of the message I'm bringing is to try to come back to that middle place, to see both sides, to experience everything and all of us together. So when I was researching my talk, I actually had a kind of remarkable coincidence. There's another one. Remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection. I was looking up some things about non-duality, because we're also gonna talk a lot about non-duality today. And I came across this article written by, or it was an interview by David Loy, who's a writer and a Zen teacher in the Zanbo Zen tradition of Japanese Zen Buddhism. In that article, he says there's a segment like 2 paragraphs in that says, in fact, the concept of non-duality literally means not two. That two things we have understood as separate from one another are in fact not separate at all. They are so dependent upon each other, they are in effect 2 different sides of the same coin. But that can describe a lot of things. So whenever we read the word non-duality, we should say, okay, what's the context? What duality is being denied? We have a lot of experience here at Interfaith with non-dualistic principles. And I want to kind of go to the Wikipedia article and just kind of give a brief overview and ask you to think about how these principles come up in our community quite often, different messages, different teachers or classes, that are happening regularly. So non-dualism in spirituality. In spirituality, non-dualism, also called non-duality, means not two, or one undivided without a second. Non-dualism primarily refers to a mature state of consciousness in which the dichotomy of the I-other is transcended, and awareness is described as centerless and without dichotomies. Although this state of consciousness may seem to appear spontaneous, it usually follows prolonged preparation through aesthetic or meditative contemplative practice, which may include ethical injunctions. While the term non-dualism is derived from the Advaita Vedanta, descriptions of non-dual consciousness can also be found within Hinduism, Buddhism, Sufism, and Western Christian and Neoplatonic traditions. One of those, well, the next part has to do with the Christian mysticism part of it. I was listening to a talk yesterday by Richard Rohr, who's a Franciscan priest, and this part jumped out at me. So in that talk, he says there's several words from the Franciscan tradition for being, and there's 3 words that they use. He says, good is number 1, true is number 2, and beautiful is number 3. These are synonymous with being. So the opposite of good, he goes on to say, the opposite of good is not bad. The opposite of good is not being. And the opposite of truth is not false, or true is not false, but the opposite of true is non-being. Same with beautiful. Opposite of beautiful, non-being. So they're using the symbols of these words and assigning that to like the greater concept of unity consciousness, essentially. And these are just examples. And it's an example of how we use words and how words in themselves have to do a lot with how they're used. And that's one of the things that we can do in terms of like shifting our perspective and being open to things that just maybe seem like they're wrong, but everybody's perception is different, and everybody has their own definitions of what words mean, and this is an example of that. So moving on, to some opposites that potentially come up in this world, we have all kinds, physical versus the non-physical. We spoke of teacher and student, and how that line can be blurred. There's A Course in Miracles actually speaks to this quite a bit, and it's really like some of the things they point out. I'm going to read a little bit here from A Course in Miracles, but some of the other things that they bring up are that when you teach, you're really like solidifying your own learning, you know, like the more that you express and share it, like you're locking it in, let's say. So there's a section in the manual for teachers in A Course in Miracles that says, when pupil and teacher come together, a teaching learning situation begins. For the teacher is not really the one who does the teaching. God's teacher speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. The relationship is holy because of that purpose, and God has promised to send his spirit into any holy relationship. In the teaching learning situation, each one learns that giving and receiving are the same. The demarcations that they have drawn between their roles, their minds, their bodies, their needs, their interests, and all the differences they thought separated them from one another fade, grow dim, and disappear. And those who would learn the same course share one interest and one goal. And thus, he who was the learner becomes the teacher of God himself. For he has made that one decision, the one decision that gave his teacher to him. He has seen in another person the same interests as his own. The world appears, this world, I mean, it spoke to a little, the world appears to be a world of division. You know, we spoke about physical and non-physical before. I think that that's a big one. You know, it seems like a lot of the divisions that we have and we experience are all physical. You know, like there's things in the world that are in conflict. And I think that if we can kind of shift to the non-physical portion, in a way, for me, it envelops all of that. It includes the physical in a way, in that there's not necessarily a division there. It can all kind of go into the non-physical. So in a way, non-physical could also be described as being as well. I have a, so I talked a little bit about A Course in Miracles here, and I talked about Richard Rohr. I kind of got my Richard Rohr shirt on here a little bit, like a little monk look going on, like a Franciscan thing going on. But with that, I actually had, like, I was raised Catholic, so I was raised in a Christian tradition, and really opened up to many different forms of non-dualistic beliefs, and never really like had it well defined, or really like had it, you know, I didn't look at non-dualism at that point. I was just like, oh, that feels good, you know, like this teaching, transcendental meditation, like many different teachers and things resonated. So I've learned that it all can kind of roll into the whole non-dualistic view. And for me, being raised Christian, it's like really A Course in Miracles and Christian mystics like Richard Rohr, like the mystical teachings of that, like that's where I find like the unity. Like it's come back together. You know, when I left Catholicism, it was like focusing on the bad things that I didn't like about it or something like that. And it was kind of like, I'm running this direction, you know, but now I've found some teachings and everything that will like bring it back together. So one of the things, but there are things within Catholicism that speak to that as well. And there's been recently a song that's come up for me. I've been rehearsing it a little bit on piano, but I'm not ready to offer that to the community yet. But it's there's a song called One Bread, One Body. And the way that the lyrics go is one bread, one body, one Lord of all, one cup of blessing which we bless, and we, though many throughout the earth, we are one body in this one Lord. And then it goes into these dualities that these perceived dualities, and it's just like no more. Gentile or Jew, servant or free, woman or man, no more. Just one bread, one body. And I thought that was meaningful to me, so I felt to share that with everybody. And let's see, so I have a few other sections from the course that I'm gonna read, and then I think we're probably gonna I have a few other things from the course that I wanted to share, and then I wanted to read you a poem by somebody who I think we all know here at Interfaith. And then I'm going to open it up and have some discussion. And maybe one of the things that we can talk about are how examples in your life or in your experience where those divisions have broken down, or if you have things that are hard, where it's hard to, like, you just are like stuck in that division, like that we could all potentially look at that together and see where the unity is, I guess. See, like, shift perspective together. I'm not saying I have all the answers or anything like that, but I think together that we could come to that, and that speaks to the whole teacher-student relationship as well. So, in A Course in Miracles, it says, God cannot be out of accord with himself, and you cannot be out of accord with him. You cannot separate yourself from your Creator, who created you, by sharing his being with you. We could substitute that being with I think that would work too. Who created you by sharing his good with you, by sharing his truth with you, by sharing his beauty with you. And the pronouns, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I've actually talked to the Foundation for Inner Peace, who published the course, and asked them about the pronouns, and I asked them if they had ever considered publishing a version that shifted the pronouns. And there are some interviews, I can't recall them exactly. There's been some discussion about that's happened, but basically it sounded like that it's just the timing's not there yet, and they've been guided to keep it as the masculine pronouns, simply because it's building off the Bible, it's referring to the Bible, and that's what the Bible uses and all that. So they just continue with that. So another part from the course says, it is everything because it encompasses all things within itself. Blessed are you who perceive only this, because you perceive only what is true. Or, be lifted up, and from a higher place look down upon it. From there will your perspective be quite different. Here in the midst of it, it does seem real, and here you have chosen to be part of it. So I'm going to close, and then we're going to open up for discussion or questions. And I'm going to read a poem by Rumi. A life without love is of no account. Don't ask yourself what kind of love you should seek, spiritual or material, divine or mundane, Eastern or Western. Divisions only lead to more divisions. Love has no labels, no definitions. It is what it is, pure and simple. Love is the water of life, and a lover is a soul of fire. The universe turns differently when fire loves water. Thank you.